Danelo Cavalcante has been caught as of 8 a.m. this morning. This is after a massive 2 week manhunt to catch this guy. If you don't know, he escaped from a Pennsylvania county jail in a pretty spectacular fashion, climbing up the wall, literally climbing up the walls, and escaped. But he's been caught. It was a big concern for the public. Just to give you a recap, he even had a rifle, sawn-off rifle that he stole with a scope and flashlight. That had everyone very worried about what's going to happen when it comes, time for them to catch this guy. And for the record, I always knew that they'd catch this guy.
FBI, marshals, border patrol, local law enforcement, et cetera, they're all on it and they're coordinated. Do you think this guy's screwed? Do you think he's going to make it?
I think he's definitely screwed. And thankfully they did, and no one was hurt in law enforcement. And props to the canine dog, the good old dog, who went in first and attacked him so he couldn't get his hands on his rifle, cause any harm to himself or anyone else. So he's been captured. But now that he's been captured, all you guys, I'm getting emails, messages, everyone wants to know what happens to him now. What's his punishment going to be at prison? How are they going to treat him at prison? The officers, what prison will he go to? Because remember, he was in the county jail waiting to go to prison. What happens there? What are the inmates thinking? How are the inmates going to treat him? I'll tell you, inmates, I guarantee you, they got big plans for this guy. They are rubbing their hands together. But it may not be the kind of plans you're thinking. So let me get into all that now. First off, I was watching all of this coverage this morning, and I saw in the press conference, law enforcement said that he was going to be taken to a state correctional facility. I assume that's going to be an actual prison instead of the county jail he escaped from. I mean, that would be ridiculous to bring him right back to the same place. So he's going to be going to a state correctional facility. I'm hoping that's just temporary until they can find a designated what's called a Supermax prison for this guy. Because let me put it like this: every state has kind of a minimum, medium, and maximum security prison, or several of each of those levels. But not every state has a Supermax facility. These Supermax places, I mean, they're kind of fewer and further between, and with these states. For example, in South Carolina, yeah, we have several maximum security prisons, but every so often, every several years, they'll kind of do a sweep, and they round up the inmates who are the biggest of the biggest security risks, security threats, and they'll kind of just group them all up and send them off to, I think South Carolina sends them to a Supermax facility in Mississippi. So I don't know which one would be the place, the Supermax that kind of works with Pennsylvania, where they would send them. But that's what they should do with this guy. I mean, this guy is clearly a huge risk. I'd be surprised if they didn't do that. I know he's not just going to immediately release their entire plans for this guy. I mean, everyone's got to catch their breath and figure stuff out. But that's what they should do. Okay, you can't just put a guy like this in a regular old state correctional facility, at least not for long. Now, I'm sure that when they bring him there, he's not coming out of that cell for any reason for quite a while until they figure this out. But if they just leave him in just a regular old maximum security state prison out there in Pennsylvania, I'll tell you this, people who don't have this type of coverage, this isn't all over the news. I've seen plenty of people escape and they get caught and they've been brought back. And yes, they were put on solitary for maybe a year, 2 years. And after a while, they need that space. They only have so much space. I've mentioned this in a previous video. They only have so much space for these security risks, these flight risk guys. And after they've been sitting there like a frog on a log for, a year or two, hey, it's time. We're going to go ahead and put you back in general population. Don't try anything funny again, mister. You stay put. But we need this space for these guys who are a more immediate, urgent problem. It's been a while since you were a problem. So let's go ahead and get you back on general population. I've ran into plenty of guys who had escaped and have been caught, and they're right there with me. I've never escaped or tried to escape. So they'll be right back there in general population. If that's what happens to this guy, that's going to be bad. Why would he not escape again? He's got life. He's got even more charges coming his way. Not that he probably doesn't care what kind of time gets added on because he's already got a life sentence. That's kind of why he probably did this in the first place, right? So I know that's not a big concern or a big thing or a big deal to him as far as, they're going to slap some extra time on. if this guy's allowed to ever go back in general population, when all the media coverage dies down, when everyone forgets about Danelo Cavalcante in a few years, because he's got a life sentence, he's going to be there for years. If they let him back into general population, not only is it very likely he'll try to escape again, why not? The inmates, I tell you right now, what's going on in the mind of a convict, they're watching this on these TVs. They love to watch the news. If it ain't sports, it's news. They're seeing this. A lot of people ask, are the inmates rooting for this guy? Probably. The inmates at that actual facility that he escaped from, probably not. They're probably crossing their fingers, whether they're admitting it or not, that he gets caught, because I can guarantee you that entire place has been on severe lockdown since he escaped, and they're probably not going to be coming off until he gets caught, which now he has. So they've probably been hating this lockdown, that they've had to experience because this guy escaped, and there's all this heat on that place. So whether they want to say, yeah, go inmates, team inmates, no, they're ready for him to get caught. They're glad he got caught, I'm sure, because now they can come out and have their visits and have their little snacks and, do their push-ups outside, all that good stuff. So other than that, if these other places where he didn't escape from, like these actual prisons, some people don't realize there is a big difference between a county jail and a state prison or a federal prison. These other inmates, yeah, they're probably rooting for him just because. I mean, what do they care? Yeah, get him. Get away. Go free. But more importantly, now that he's been caught, these guys are looking at him like the number one pick in gym class for dodgeball. They're looking at him like the number one prospect in college football who's about to move into the NFL draft. You know why? They're saying, we got to get this guy to go get our packages of Contraband Force. This guy is perfect. Because listen, these guys, I mean, it's the most common thing in the world. Some people believe me, some don't. All it takes is a quick Google search. You will see the massive, massive amounts of big, huge packages full of contraband that get literally, no, they're not smuggled in. They're not brought in on visitation. The guards aren't bringing them in. Yes, that does happen. A little smaller stuff, but the big amounts, these big, huge packages that are loaded full of pounds of tobacco, drugs, cell phones, all that stuff, they're being thrown over these fences. Okay. And they recruit guys, usually small guys who can kind of fit through air ducts and just all type of stuff. Whatever their plan is, every prison's different, the way the building is and all that. Just however they want to get these guys out there to go get the package and come back. Well, they know this guy can do it. They're sitting there looking at this guy with dollar signs in their eyes. Hey, we need to get this guy to go get our packages. He's a capable guy. So I guarantee you there are some, convict minds back there already with the gears turning about how they can get this man to help them out as far as getting contraband into the facility. I think that's their big plans they have for him. Now, none of that happens if, like I was saying in the beginning, they put him in a Supermax facility. These are where they house people just like Danelo Cavalcante, killers who have nothing to lose, who have shown they will go to incredible lengths to get away and are highly capable of getting away. They can pull it off. That's what these places are for. So I'd be surprised if we don't see him eventually moved somewhere to a Supermax facility. So I'll just have to stay tuned on this, on the updates here coming from the law enforcement out there and just the media. Just have to stay tuned and keep an ear out for that. But that's my prediction. If they're smart, he won't see general population again. They will not keep him for very long at just a regular old state correctional facility, right? They need to figure out and communicate with a Supermax prison, whichever ones that they kind of work with regularly. I'm sure each state has their own thing going on there with a Supermax prison that's nearest to them, maybe, and get that figured out and get them out there. That's the best thing they can do if they don't want this to happen again. If they don't do that, I'm telling you, this, you may not see this come to fruition for many years, but if they don't do that, this guy's going to bring more trouble. This is not going to be the last we heard of him doing something. That's just my thoughts. I hope that helps. Hope that answers your questions. And again, thank God he's caught. Thank God no one was too hurt or injured. And hopefully this is the last we'll hear of it.